My name's Andy, and I've been interested in hacking mobiles for about 10 years. As networks have progressively got more and more secure, as web applications have got more and more secure, I've realised actually we've got these things that we carry around with us all day. And when I started this 10 years ago, no one was really looking at mobiles, so that's what made me interested. And when we look to hack mobiles, there's generally three areas. So there's the physical layer, so whether actually someone could just take your device. And I don't really like that layer. If someone can take my device, I assume it's game over, and I just buy a new phone and try and wipe the device, assuming it's not going to the wrong hands. There's the software and the apps layer, which is what I look for at work. So I look for weak applications. So I take apps, try and hack them, and again show them to customers and show how they've been broken and what they need to do to fix them. And that's worked quite well for the last 10 years or so. But the attack we're going to attempt here with Tom is going to be the network layer. So we're going to look at the network, how the data gets transmitted over the internet, and whether it's subject to attack and what can happen if an attacker can handle and control that data. So we've probably already seen this symbol everywhere, free Wi-Fi. And as hackers are always trying to I tell my girlfriend, don't connect to Starbucks Wi-Fi without VPN, without a secure connection. And I don't know whether she listens or not, but I try and insinuate to everyone in my family, do not do this. It's not great. They're offering free Wi-Fi, but how do you know you're secure? On a desktop application or on a web app, you normally get this little HTTPS in the address bar, and you get that warm little fizzy feeling that makes you think, I'm secure, everything I'm doing is absolutely fine. It's encrypted, and despite Amber Rudd's best intents, whatever I look at, she won't know. The problem is on a mobile app, you don't get this green lock, so you don't know historically whether the application you're connecting to is going securely to a back-end database, or whether it's just transmitting information over the clear. So a lot of times email servers will just transmit the username and password in the clear, unencrypted, and if you're an attacker sat on the Wi-Fi connection, chances are you can pull that data off the network. So one of the common attacks that kind of happens in this kind of area where we have this Wi-Fi network, and I kind of liken it to Charlie in Chocolate Factory, where we've got Mike TV, and the idea is he wants to transmit all his himself from one end to the other end, and in the middle we've got all these particles going through the middle of the air, and that's kind of how Wi-Fi works. And the man in the middle attack is that if someone can sit and actually snatch that information, they can either just collect it and just keep it and analyze it for themselves, or they can maybe make modifications and changes to that in a malicious way. So we've already got our we've got a victim, and we're going to ask him next to our free Wi-Fi. So Tom, if you can get your...
Tom, you've got a phone, haven't you?
Yeah. This probably should have been the first question I asked. Cool. Okay. And I'm just going to give you the password.
So which network is it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I love you.
I don't know if I can spell that.
Just let me know when you're connected. So what we're going to use is a free tool called Wireshark. And what Wireshark does essentially is it looks to grab the data that's going over the air and pull it into a form that we can display. So this is Wireshark here. And bear in mind, Tom's had his phone unlocked. He's not actually done anything with his phone. What sometimes happens is apps just go in the background and they just work in the background for us. Things like email, we'll just try and connect to our email server, pull our corporate emails backwards and forwards, and when we get a new email, give us a notification. What we can do is look for individual packets and try and trace the information going backwards and forwards. So we can look to filter out data that we're interested in. But essentially, while Tom's been doing nothing with his phone, it's pulled out his corporate username in his email address and his nice secure password of password1. So without realizing what's going on, without Tom's just connected to our Starbucks network, or other coffee shops are available to their coffee shop network, and without realizing it, he's disclosed his email username and password. But in doing so, he's also pulled out emails. So if I scroll down, there's an email there saying, actually, we've got a new account number set up for work. Can you use this account number and sort code when you're making payments in the future? Now, if I was a malicious attacker, I could actually change that to my bank account and sort code. Tom wouldn't know. He refreshes his email. He sees this email. Actually, any future payments will be made into my bank account. I'm off and away before I know it. If we scroll down, we can see some further emails. And it says, set you up with an admin account with the username Tom, and the password again has been disclosed as secure as password 1. So again, without him doing anything, these emails have been transmitted over the air, and I'm able to intercept them. What I'm going to do now is try and connect to your phone, Tom. You may get a like an OK screen if you can just press OK. I'm completely trustworthy.
Go on, press it.
So if you open up the email app just to confirm, it may be a bit blurry at the back, but if you open up the email, there we go. So there's a few emails there confirming the emails that we talked about earlier. If you open up the bank account one, you see the bank account email address and confirm the sort code and account number. And if you go back into your inbox and load up the username and password for the admin account, and again, so it proves that what we're saying is that the information can go backwards and forwards, and actually we can intercept that and see that it's genuine. There is another type of attack called an evil twin attack, and this is where when you go home and you connect to your Wi-Fi, you probably don't think about how it does that. You walk home and it recognises that you're home, connects to your home Wi-Fi, and what it's actually doing is all your time your phone is saying actually, hey, home Wi-Fi, are you here? Hey, hotel Wi-Fi that I've connected to before, are you here? Hey, Heathrow Wi-Fi that I've connected to before, are you here? What can happen is, and if an attacker says, yeah, sure, I'm here, I'm your home Wi-Fi, connect to me, it's a similar attack scenario where someone can then, without you even realising it, your phone's connected to what it thinks is home Wi-Fi, but essentially is an attacker's Wi-Fi. And if the applications you're using aren't using HTTPS, which we don't know for sure on mobile networks, without doing things like attack checks, it can be subject to the same kind of thing. In summary, untrusted wireless networks that Tom connects to are dangerous. The subject is data interception, so we could just do nothing with that data. We could just sit and collect it all day long, sit on the open Wi-Fi network. We know the password if there's a password, or all at the time there's no password whatsoever. We can pull that information out. We can alter data, so if the payment was supposed to go to a bank account, we can make changes to the account number and sort code, and that money can come to us. And it's hidden from sight. Tom didn't know I was doing, for the fact that he connected to my Wi-Fi. If we've got an evil access point and actually your phone's broadcasting all the time, we can just connect to us automatically, and you not know what's going on. It affects not only employees working from public locations, so maybe on a train where you put a cover on your screen, but if you connect into an access point that's not legitimate, anyone that has access to that access point may have access to your data. It also can take the risk of virtual property. So if you've got a connection or information about an admin account, and someone's then able to log into that account, they may have access to whatever emails you've got access to. The main mitigations are to use a VPN, or actually to get the app tested and security tested to ensure that if you are deploying an app, that it's secure. It's not maybe necessary, a consumer can't check that, but if you're building mobile apps, as part of the process to get pen tested to make sure it can't be intercepted in the middle like this. Or you can just buy an old phone that doesn't connect to the internet anyway, so yeah. And if you drop it, it breaks the floor, not the phone, so yeah.
It's worth saying that if that had been a hack and he'd been an unsuspecting victim and he hadn't known what was going to happen, then Andy would be doing a bit of chokey tonight. And I have to say, as a journalist, the word hack scares me to death. So in terms of disclosure, Tom, that is your real name.
It is, yeah. That's
Tom
real.
knows Andy, So from that respect, they sort of knew each other. Otherwise, it couldn't have been done. Otherwise, you would have been breaking the law.
Yeah.
But the point I think you're making, Andy, is you could have hacked anybody's phone if you'd wanted to, and it would have been as easy as that.
Yeah. So what we've had running during this whole presentation, you may not be able to see, but these probe requests that your phone send out that try and connect to your home Wi-Fi, we've been having this running for the last probably half an hour or so. So although it was kind of a little bit coerced, I knew Tom and he connected to my Wi-Fi, actually we could have had a device running and we could have pretended to be any of your home Wi-Fi networks. I don't know if any of you recognise these or will admit to recognising any of these. But if we had a fake device running, we've got one here, we could have just said, yeah, we're your home Wi-Fi, connect to us, and we could have done this to any of yous, if we wasn't the ethical hacker. So although we didn't break the Computer Misuse Act, it probably would have been trivial to access any of your phones and any of the data that's being sent unencrypted. So
we shouldn't really give you a round of applause for that, Andy, because what you've done is completely almost illegal. But let's give Tom a big round of applause. Let's give Tom a big round of applause. Well done, Tom. Andy, we're just going to ask a couple of questions because you are an ethical hacker. And there's an interesting story because I heard a presentation that you gave. You downloaded an app called Flash Keyboard. I don't know if anyone in the room has ever downloaded this app called Flash Keyboard. It was number 11 on the App Store, had been downloaded 50 million times. However, where you downloaded it and when you investigated, you found that it captured lots of your information and sent it to China. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so probably a little over a year ago, probably February last year, I kind of mentioned that I'm interested in Android apps, and I had an Android keyboard, and it was a bit slow, a bit clunky, and I wanted to change it. I wanted to make it, a little bit more interesting. So I went on the Play Store, found like number 1 was like Facebook Messenger downloads, like number 2 downloaded was maybe Snapchat, 3 was Instagram, and number 11 was this Flash keyboard that had been downloaded 50 million times. So 50 million downloads, 11th in the chart. That's on Google chart. That's it's worth trying. It's got a bit of a reputation. I would tell you that WhatsApp, the terrorist choice of app, was downloaded number 14 in the charts. That just tells you how the reputation of how well this app was downloaded. So I went ahead and downloaded this app, and it kind of took me on a 3-month journey of investigating this app and what it was doing with all your data.
Going to be a new film out called 50 Million Shades of Grey soon, based on this. It's not a good joke, but that's as good as they get. This Flash keyboard, it was placing adverts on your screen for financial gain. It's very sophisticated, wasn't it? How much money did it actually make? This, not off you, but how much money did the app make?
The app, yeah. So bearing in mind it was a keyboard, so all it was supposed to do is just help you type, messages into your mobile phone, make predictions. From conservative estimates, if it had been downloaded between 50 and 100 million times, so let's say 50 million times, and I was talking to a developer, and they reckon that for each advert that gets shown, the developer makes around about 20 cents. So they was making in the region about $123 million a day from people just unlocking their devices. So I think the average user unlocks their phone 80 to 100 million times. So 80 to 100 times, sorry. Over 50 million, it feels like 80 billion. But yeah, so 80 to 100 times, 50 million installs, people unlocking the devices at 20 cents a time. And this was a keyboard. This wasn't supposed to display adverts. So on your lock screen on your phone, when you lock your phone, it normally gives you the time, tells you files you've downloaded or any email messages. It was just splashing adverts on there constantly, and that's where they was making the money from.
But the reality is, and we're speaking about the risk of cybersecurity and falling victim to terrorists, cyber terrorists, was that people were complacent. They saw it number 11 on the list, just assumed it must be fine, but it was using you and people like you as cash cows, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's that complete reputation thing that, when I clicked install, it had quite a lot of permissions. And I think we're quite guilty of, okay, well, it's reputation number 11, it's Google, a name we know and trust, and 50 million people can't be wrong, right? Just click install and yeah.
And now you're on a crusade, Andy, because I think you plan to audit other apps in the App Store. Don't say too much about that because that'll be your next presentation. Put your hands together for Andy Panel.